She likes certain. Sorry,
jeez.
There we go again.
On Monday, President Obama attended the IRS hearings to condemn the corruption that infests the agency. I kid again. He was at a fundraiser. There he said some stuff, none of it recorded because no press was allowed. No biggie. It's not like they'd report anything. When Obama talks, they glisten. But there the president claimed that he is not very partisan. Perhaps, but compared to what? The Red Army? Then I realized he's right. He's not a partisan because for him, Democrats are too moderate and too fearful of the change he's unleashed like a bag of gremlins in a crowded theater. Obama succeeded where other progressives have failed, making the next Democratic presidential candidate seem like a Republican. It's true, after Obama, everyone looks right because there's nowhere left to go. But Obama is partisan if you mean any party where George Clooney is a guest. It's where rich leftists meet in rarefied air to discuss the toxic origins of a country that created their opportunities for wealth. Obama is a partisan to an ideology, a dogma where all calamity serves a higher purpose, where the goal is never reached, only suffered. And that's the gimmick of progressivism. As successful traditions are subverted, the replacement is never spelled out because there's no alphabet grim enough. It truly is Obama's world, and we're just gagging in it. All right. Hey, Andrea, let's be honest. Isn't he really bigger than any party? Is that what he really is saying? It's like he's not part of the Democratic Party either. He's just beyond that.
Oh, I think he's part of a wing of the Democratic Party. But I think when he says I'm not a partisan, that means if you agree with him. So if you see things his way, like for example, when Speaker Boehner came out and spoke in favor of immigration reform, President Obama had nice things to say about him. If it goes his way and if you agree with him, then he's not a partisan, then he likes you. If you disagree with him, he will attack you, like I guess our producer said he did moments ago in a fundraiser that he was just giving. I actually think the best thing for him, and I know he's fundraising to keep the Senate, I personally think if I were sitting next to him advising him, the best thing for him would be to lose the Senate. The same way Bill Clinton had to deal with an all-Republican Congress, that would be a dream for him. He's not going to get anything through with a Republican House anyway. And then for the next 2 years, he can demonize Republicans, blame them for everything he can't get done, and use executive orders. Bill Clinton did it. He did it masterfully. But Bill Clinton still said, I feel your pain. That's what Obama's missing. He doesn't even pretend to care about the crises.
Bob, isn't everybody a partisan? I mean, with the exception of maybe somebody like a Joe Lieberman. But if you're in a party, you're a partisan.
Yeah. Except let me just look at this thing historically. The progressive movement in America is much smaller than it used to be. The labor unions used to be much more powerful. The left used to be much more powerful. Bill Clinton sort of took the Democratic Party more to the center.
Yeah.
Here's the difference. Dealing with the Republican Party today, when you used to be able to deal with people like Howard Baker and Bob Dole and Everett Dirksen and Jake Javits and people who were big people, then you could actually sit down and work out deals. In the House of Representatives, they have refused to go to conference on anything. About 80% of them refuse to go to conference, which is where most of this gets done. The problem is that the Republican Party has elected a group of, I hate to say it, but they're midgets. and there is no big standing Republican left that I can see, with the exception of maybe Boehner.
Oh, you are?
They're called little people.
Sorry,
Bob, and I want you to apologize to Dana.
I apologize. But seriously, I'm trying to look across and the Democrats, by the way, I would say the same thing about, for the most part. But I think that
Bob, even when Republicans came to the table on immigration reform, the president demonized those who didn't. Even when they're willing to compromise, it doesn't matter because they get name-called and thrown in the mud anyway. So what's the point?
They never got to a conference on immigration reform. That's the problem. Harry Reid was the one responsible for killing immigration reform. I agree with that. But he had a chance to get that. But I still say the point is that there are no big players in either house that what?
It's just that you're making arguments that all of a sudden, by the time you walk back around, you've actually nullified the point that you made.
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't consider Harry Reid at the level of a Lyndon Johnson or somebody who could put together deals. I can't find anybody in the Republican Party in either house that stands up to the kind of Everett Dirksen level or Howard Baker level.
Eric,
who
are you texting?
No, I'm reading something. And the reason why this is relevant to the conversation, we're talking about President Obama being disengaged, he's doing his fundraisers, doing his thing. We've talked about that before. But at 2:57 this afternoon, we get this news breaking on our Blackberries that says Marie Harf from the State Department says that the State Department believes that Russians were firing into Ukraine territory. Not
Right.
Russian separatists. Actual Russian military is firing. So we've been going back and forth. Yes, yes, Russians themselves are firing. So now that was 2:57. Well, wait, 2.5 hours since then. Has President Obama or anyone come out denouncing the Russian government for firing into Ukraine territory? No. But he did talk. Hold on. But he did talk about his basketball shot. He says he hits 80% of his free throws, give or take a few, but his arm gets a little bit tired.
Thank
he
God.
has said that since then. But nothing, denouncing Putin, renouncing Putin.
Don't you think it's a little silly to talk about you're attacking his basketball shot or playing golf?
Here's what I think, Bob. I think this news that came out at 3 o'clock today
By the State Department.
By the State Department is massive. And no one is talking about it, and we should be talking about it, and they should be talking about it.
Well, the issue here, Dana, is doesn't essentially the president belong to the party of Obama, which is a singular God-like entity that we all aspire to but can never achieve?
Well, whoever the president is, then that is the titular head of the party.
Yeah.
So yes, the Democrats have to dance with the one that won, and that happened to be President Obama this time around, and who knows who it will be next time. I do find partisan wasn't necessarily a bad word.
Yeah.
It wasn't a negative word. Like, you can be a partisan and not be a jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, that is possible. It doesn't necessarily mean people are like that, but you can go to conference and have a bill and say, I'm for these principles. These are my principles. But what are your principles? Can we make a deal? I'll give you that. I'll take this. Done. I mean, that's the part of thing. It's not about being partisan. It's about just figuring out a way to compromise.
To merge the partisanship issues together. I don't think there's an issue in front of the Congress, with the exception of abortion, that can't be resolved by reasonable people sitting down having a
Bob,
debate.
they went to conference over the debt ceiling and the budget bills. They've gone to conference on that before, and Republicans caved on the payroll tax and a number of other things, and heard and caught hell from their base. And so now they're not giving the president his way, and that's just too bad. We can't compromise on everything.
Andrea, the base of the Republican Party has changed and moved way far right, and it didn't used to be that way.
But
Not
Bob,
way far right. It's just not way far left.
We have the most. This has to be the most successful, effective left-wing president in the history of our country.
By the way, I think you're right. This is Obama's trying to recreate a progressive movement in America, and he can't do it because there's not enough pieces to put it together.
There you go.
Thank goodness.
All right.